welcome to the deep dive. Today we're focusing on a profession that, well, operates where the margin for error is literally zero. We're talking about a job where one mistake could lead to catastrophe. Air traffic control, ATC. It's not just demanding, it's really discipline.
It truly is. And for you, our listener, the aim here is to get past the stereotypes, to really understand the precise mix of dedication, sharp thinking, and intense training needed to become one of these highly specialized pros keeping our skies safe.
Yeah, and we've pulled together a pretty comprehensive stack of sources for this one. Think of it like a master career guide. It covers everything from the really tough educational requirements to the physical standards you just can't compromise on, the whole training pipeline, and where the career can take you. This is basically your shortcut to understanding modern ATC. Okay, let's start by sort of defining the scope. We all know ATCs talk to pilots, right? But what's the full extent of their daily responsibility? It sounds simple, maybe just guidance, but it's way more complex.
Oh, definitely. It's like managing a constant high-speed, three-dimensional chess game. Air traffic control is the absolute essential system ensuring aircraft move safely and efficiently. And that's not just when they're airborne. Critically, it includes when they're taxiing on the ground, holding for takeoff, or on final approach for landing.
Right, and when you break down their moment-to-moment work, it's managing all these simultaneous high-speed calculations. They're handling takeoffs, landings, sure, but also that complex dance of navigation en route, making absolutely sure planes stay separated by those minimum distances vertically, horizontally,
And longitudinally, yeah. And ensuring that separation relies entirely on their tools. The modern controller is constantly taking in information from radar screens, complex software systems, and turning it into really clear, actionable commands over the radio. The key thing here is you're not just reading out data, you're managing future risk based on imperfect, constantly changing info. And you really only get one shot to be right.
Which brings us to the pace. Just how fast are these decisions being made?
The pace required is relentless. It's inherently fast, especially at busy airports, major hubs. This demands exceptional focus, just unwavering concentration, lightning fast decisions, and maybe most importantly, flawless communication skills. Like our sources stress, there's simply no room for confusion, no ambiguity when you're telling a commercial jet what to do while it's descending at hundreds of knots.
Okay. So if you're listening, wondering about how you'd even get into this high demand field, well, the academic side is where it starts.
Yeah.
What are the qualifications needed? Is just a high school diploma really enough to get your foot in the door?
Well, a high school diploma is often listed as the basic minimum requirement. But the reality, looking at our career guides, is that to be truly competitive today, you need a pretty substantial academic background. Most successful candidates actually hold a bachelor's degree.
And these aren't just any degrees, right? They're highly specialized.
Ah.
We're talking fields like aviation management, aeronautical engineering, or even specific air traffic management programs. They don't just teach you how a plane flies. They build that core knowledge of the whole operational system.
Exactly. But the knowledge needed goes quite a bit beyond general engineering ideas. Controllers have to master very specific technical areas. Take aviation English, for instance. You need what's called ICAO level 4 or higher.
Let's clarify that for a sec, because that sounds like a technical hurdle.
Yeah.
What exactly does ICAO level 4 test for?
Right. So ICAO is the International Civil Aviation Organization. Level 4 is a global standard. It's designed to make sure that both native and non-native English speakers can give and understand critical commands clearly, without any delay or error. Regardless of accent or background noise, it's basically a safety measure wrapped up as a language test.
Okay, that makes total sense. Clear communication is literally life or death. What other really specialized knowledge do they need?
Well, beyond the standardized language, you need deep knowledge of airspace rules and regulations. That's kind of the map of the sky, essentially. And significantly, they need a solid grasp of meteorology. And this isn't just knowing if it might rain.
Why is that level of weather detail so crucial? I mean, the controller isn't flying the plane.
Because they're responsible for the safety margins. Detailed weather knowledge lets a controller anticipate problems, maybe reroute traffic around unexpected wind shear or microbursts or sudden icing conditions. If a runway's performance is affected by crosswinds, the controller needs to know exactly what that means for flight dynamics to manage the queue of aircraft waiting to land or take off.
And we shouldn't overlook the study of human factors and decision-making. That sounds like the meta skill, doesn't it?
It really is. It's kind of the ultimate insurance policy. They study human factors because the job is fundamentally about designing systems and procedures to prevent human error from ever happening, not just reacting after something goes wrong.
Okay, this all points to a really tough selection process. How do they filter candidates for this unique mix of academics and, well, high pressure capability?
The gateway is incredibly competitive, yeah. Candidates usually have to pass a really rigorous screening test. It's designed to find people with the cognitive ability to perform under serious stress. You see examples like the FAA's ATC exam in the US or structured recruitment processes run by the Civil Aviation Authority, the CAA, in places like Pakistan and many other countries. They're looking for those rare individuals who can consistently demonstrate peak cognitive performance.
And even once you're selected, the education is still just theoretical at that point. What comes next?
Then comes the really intensive practical training. Selected candidates have to complete months of mandatory ATC training. This is usually done at a National Aviation Academy or a specific CAA training center. This phase isn't really about lectures, it's much more about simulation, an intense apprenticeship in applied focus and split-second execution.
So we've covered the books, the initial training. But even with an aeronautical engineering degree, you can't fully teach like true crisis management skills, right? This is where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about the people they're looking for. What are the non-academic hurdles, the eligibility checkpoints?
Right, the human filter. This is where most candidates actually drop out. The physical and sort of logistical eligibility rules are famously strict, and that's because the job demands complete physiological fitness and absolute reliability. You have to be dependable.
We see strict age restrictions, usually needing controllers to start between 18 and 30. Why that specific age range?
Yeah, that window is pretty much tied to the demanding nature of the job and the cognitive stamina needed. The training is long and expensive, so authorities want to invest in people who are starting during what's considered their period of peak cognitive fitness. This helps maximize their productive career length and also tries to mitigate burnout risk later on.
And the medical side is serious. You mentioned medical fitness, specifically needing a Class 3 or equivalent medical certificate. What does Class 3 involve beyond just being generally healthy?
Class 3 involves really rigorous standards, especially for senses vital to the job. So that means demonstrably good eyesight, including depth perception and excellent hearing. Can't miss anything. They also do comprehensive checks for mental health stability, making sure the candidate can handle extreme stress and shift work without it affecting their judgment on the job. You simply cannot afford to mishear or misread a critical instruction. And this brings us neatly to maybe the most valuable soft skill mentioned in all the source material: situational awareness.
That term gets used a lot. What does situational awareness actually look like for someone in a busy ATC tower?
Okay, so it's the ability to simultaneously track multiple moving things, altitude, speed, heading, weather conditions, and not just process what's happening now, but anticipate the next 5 or 10 potential conflicts before they even happen. It's about maintaining this perfect, three-dimensional mental map of the entire airspace you control, updated constantly, moment by moment. That's what allows for that quick decision making under pressure.
But if they rely so much on technology, like advanced radar systems, why are these human soft skills still the biggest barrier to entry?
Because the tech can flag potential conflicts, sure, but it's only the human controller who can apply judgment, communicate effectively, and use their authority to resolve the conflict. This needs excellent, clear, calm communication skills. But it's not just talking to pilots. Controllers need strong teamwork skills too. They're constantly coordinating with other controllers in adjacent sectors, with ground staff, sometimes even international partners. It's this huge, precise network, but it relies on human interaction.
That paints a picture of intense specialization. So once you manage to get through the exams, the training, the medicals, what does the career growth actually look like? You mentioned high intensity entry points.
Yeah, the career progression is typically very structured. It offers clear paths for moving up and specializing based on experience and more testing. And the entry level often does involve those high intensity environments.
Like what, for example?
Well, you might start as a tower controller. That means dealing with the immediacy of ground movements, takeoffs, final approaches. It's close range, visual, and a very rapid environment. You're talking to the pilot who's literally right there in front of you.
Okay.
Then as you gain experience, you usually move up to mid-level roles. This often means becoming an area or approach controller. Now you're handling aircraft en route once they're higher up, away from the airport. You're managing much larger sections of airspace, dealing with traffic moving much faster. This needs more long-term planning, not just immediate reaction.
And for those who want leadership or teaching roles, there are senior specialization paths too.
Oh, yes. Senior roles can include becoming an ATC supervisor, managing the staff and the workflow for a shift. or moving into a training instructor role, shaping the next generation of controllers using simulators, or even becoming an operations manager, overseeing the bigger picture, the strategic logistics of the whole control facility.
Right. Now, given the stress, the specialization, the sheer risk involved, the pay must reflect that intensity. What do the financial rewards look like?
The compensation is generally highly competitive globally. It directly reflects that immense responsibility. The base salary is usually quite significant, and it's typically boosted heavily by various allowances and pretty competitive perks.
What kind of perks are we talking about?
Well, think about structured extra pay for shift duty working nights, weekends. Usually, excellent medical and dental benefits are included, and often comprehensive government backed pension plans. Our sources consistently point out that in many countries, air traffic control is seen as one of the highest paying government jobs in the entire aviation sector. That high pay is fundamentally linked to the high stress.
Which brings us neatly to the reality check. Every rewarding job has its cost. What's the main demand that these high earnings are compensating for?
The primary challenge, hands down, is the physical and mental strain. No question. This includes high levels of chronic mental stress, the necessarily long hours, and that requirement for shift duty, which really messes with your body clock and personal life. And there's the constant weight of responsibility, just knowing that a single lapse in judgment could have catastrophic consequences. That's always there.
And that's why the training can never really stop.
Precisely. There's a constant need for continuous learning and mandatory, regular, recurrent training. You have to maintain your certification, often through intense simulator sessions that test how you handle system failures or unusual procedures. You just can't afford for your skills to degrade in this field.
But even with those demands, the rewards go beyond just the paycheck, right? What are the non-financial payoffs?
Yeah, the payoff includes really high job security. Once you've passed all that intensive screening, you're a valuable asset. There's significant respect and prestige within the aviation industry. And crucially, there's the very real reward of knowing you're directly contributing to passenger safety. For many controllers, this is clearly described as more of a critical mission, not just a job. So to kind of pull together everything we've looked at, ATC is a field that demands this unique, rigorous combination of skills. You need deep intellectual discipline, specific mastery in areas like aviation, English, and meteorology, combined with demanding physical fitness and immense, long-lasting mental stamina. The safety of the entire global air system really relies on these highly screened, intensely trained, and yes, well-compensated professionals.
So what does this all boil down to for you, the listener? It means when you get on a plane, the safety and efficiency of your flight are being managed by this incredibly specialized human neural network, a system built around constant peak performance and split-second